Administrators at the Hempstead School District, or middle school in Texas, have voted to fire a principal there by the name of Amy Lacy. The reason why they did that is because Principal Lacy went on the intercom one day and told all the students that they are forbidden from speaking Spanish in school or on the school grounds. Now, it's important to remember that 55% of the students that go to this school are Hispanic, and they were very upset that they were told that they'd be punished if they spoke anything other than English on campus. So she did get fired, and some of the students said things like the following: people don't want to speak it, Spanish no more, and they don't want to get caught speaking it because they'll get in trouble. And then parents were really upset about it. So they decided to fire her, and I have to be completely honest, I'm kind of torn as to whether or not I agree with that.
Me too.
Okay. So
I'll tell you, look, here's the thing. In her case, she probably should have been fired because it doesn't appear that she went through the right channels to do this. And I'm not necessarily one for bureaucracy, but in a case like this, I think that if you're going to make a rule like that, you got to check with the school board. It's a really important issue. That's not a small little rule, and obviously it affects a huge part of the community. So you got to go through the proper channels and say, like, hey, are the parents cool with this? Is the board cool with this? And then if you make that decision, then I think it's an open question. But if you're going to fly off the handle one day and be like, that's it, I can't take it anymore, nobody speaks Spanish. Well, okay, then I think that's the wrong way to go.
Yeah, so I looked into this with a few different angles in mind. First of all, I was curious about, whether or not these students are speaking Spanish so much, because Spanish is their primary language, right? And it's important to speak English because it helps you learn, and it helps you get better at making that your primary language, I guess. So I looked into a few studies, and it shows, no, if you're going to school and if within the classroom you're speaking English, but during your free time you speak Spanish to your peers, that's not going to harm you in any way, shape, or form. You're still going to advance in English. So that's not an issue. And then I also looked into her past a little bit to see if there was anything that she did that might have been, I don't know, discriminatory against the Hispanic students, and I didn't find anything other than this particular incident, right? But that doesn't mean that other incidents don't exist. They just haven't been reported, so I don't know. So it all depends on the context. If she has a history of doing this type of stuff to the students there, the Hispanic students, then I think that they should fire her. But if this is a one-time thing where she got frustrated at the students not speaking English on campus, then you got to give her a little more of a pass, maybe a slap on the wrist, maybe talk to her and say, hey, you know what, why don't we discuss this before we go ahead and go on the intercom and tell the students, hey, you're not allowed to speak Spanish. So I think that there was maybe a little room for a little leniency here.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Don't get me wrong on the context, because I would have pulled her in and be like, Amy, what was going on here? What were you thinking? You see how you had to clear it with us, right? That doesn't make any sense. If I'm on the board of that, Board of Education in that community. And so maybe they did, and she did. It seemed that they got the sense that she was not apologetic about it, or it was the wrong context. Yeah. So they're like, no, she's got to go. So that's fair enough. But I think the slightly more interesting question is it okay to ban Spanish in a school if it's been cleared through all those channels?
I disagree with banning a particular language on campus. I think that if you're in the classroom, the teacher has all the right to say, hey, you know what, in my classroom we're going to speak English, but during recess or lunchtime, obviously after school hours, before class starts, you get to speak in whatever language you want. We're in America, and I know that some people will make the argument that, hey, if you're in America, you speak English, but no, I mean, we have different people from different backgrounds and ethnicities, and they should be able to be proud of their background and speak whatever language they want. And you want to know what's really, really valuable in the job market? Being bilingual.
And it is kind of tough to bully in another language, because how do you get bullied when you don't know what the bullies say?
That's exactly what I mean, yes.
Okay, now having said all that, I'm gonna side with you, because it's too draconian to say patrolling people what they say in recess and by the school bus or whatever. But I'm a big proponent of just speak English, okay? I know that's ignorant, I'm terrible, yada yada. I don't mean like forget Turkish or Spanish no, of course not. Be bilingual, of course that's helpful, etc. But overly concentrating on what is easier, your first language, doesn't necessarily help you, right? We've all got to communicate in one way, right? Like we all have to speak one language the same, and then we can have our other languages. And I wish I spoke Spanish because that would help me communicate.
I speak Spanish time to time.
Oh, please. Okay. But the predominant language in America is American. No, it's English. So I would hope that people would get really good at it. And the way you get good at it is by speaking it more.
There are now claims that the administrators who fired her and also some of the Hispanic students are the target of violence in this area. And obviously I don't agree with that either. That's absolutely crazy. These are allegations. They haven't been proven, but they're asking for authorities to investigate it, and I hope they did. Just to give you an example, a series of crimes followed the decision to place Lacy on administrative leave, raising concerns that some people are angered by her suspension and they're targeting the Hispanic students. The district superintendent, Delma Flores-Smith, told the paper she worried for her safety after seeing strangers photograph her house. She says her yard was vandalized and someone went through her trash. And also, they had 3 people caught on surveillance cutting the brake lines on 3 school buses. And they also left a dead cat in front of one of the school buses.
No, that's insane. By the way, I mean, you want to talk about the wrong thing. Like, okay, yeah, they fired or whatever, everybody will live, right? Cutting the fucking brake lines on a school bus.
It's insane.
That's pretty much attempted murder. That's the real problem. They got to go find those guys, arrest them, and I hope that there's huge consequences. Can you imagine if they cut the brake lines on a school bus your kid was in?
Oh, there would be hell to pay. There's no question.
So they have them on tape. I hope they catch him.
I do, too, yeah.